Bradford City continue their 2025-26 League One campaign with a home clash against Michael Subala's Lincoln City. And in today's video, you're going to find out how both teams have got on so far this season, and what my starting 11 would be for this game if I was Graham Alexander. If you do go on to enjoy today's video, then don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. But my team Bradford City, we currently sit third in the League One table. After 13 matches, we've got 7 wins, 5 draws and 1 defeat, scoring 23 goals and also conceding 16, which leaves us on a positive 7 goal difference and at 26 points. Our last couple of matches then have been a draw, a win and a win. In terms of them last couple of matches then, on Saturday we had a 1-1 draw away at Stevenage. Unfortunately, it looks like the stats are not going to be loading in today's match preview. I don't know why that's happened a couple of times this season, but to have 7 starters injured for this game, go away to a team who've won every match at home in the league so far this season, only conceded once in the league, and again be disappointed to only come away from the game with a point, goes to show the standards that we've set ourselves. And the performance in the first half wasn't amazing. Yes, we took an early lead, but after that I thought we tried to sit in a little bit too much. They eventually did equalise with a very good strike, if we're being completely honest, and I do think that we could have maybe done a bit more defensively. You know, Joe Wright with the pretty poor clearance, and then after that it was largely Stevenage pressure without really creating too much clear cut. Second half was the total opposite. It was total domination really by Bradford City, but we just lacked that clinical nature. We weren't really getting too many shots off in the end, and probably a point was a fair result. Like I say, we are only the first team to take any points away from the Lamex this season, so in the grand scheme of things, not the worst point in the world. We also had a 2-2 draw at home at Barnsley FC. Again, another game which, if it finishes 7-3, I don't think anybody does really complain. Obviously, their first equaliser is a 70-yard wonder goal. Again, we had so many chances in this game. There was a number of different goal line clearances from Barnsley. The first time all season that we have not won at home in all competitions. So very frustrating, very disappointing. And again, on another day, we need to be more clinical. And we also need to be better defensively, especially for that second goal that Barnsley do score. We also had a 5-1 win at home to Everton's under-21s. As you would expect when playing against an under-21 side, it was total domination largely from Bradford City, although to be fair, they had a few first team players in there, the likes of Nathan Patterson, Dwight McNeil for example. They had a couple of other very decent young talents, but we were very clinical on the day and thoroughly deserved the win. We also had a 2-2 draw away at Rotherham. Again, another game which we've drawn, which we probably should have won. To be 2-0 down away from home and only draw the game and still be very disappointed goes to show the amount of chances that we created in this game. Defensively for both goals, we have to be much better, especially the second one, completely massively disjointed really in it. We massively missed Max Power in a game like that, who obviously was suspended. And then just before that one, we had a 1-0 win at home to Blackpool. This was kind of the total opposite really. Not many chances for either side in this game. Josh Nerfel taking on his man and getting off a shot was the only goal of the game that we managed to score. I think he needs to start doing that more. We'll get on to Josh Nerfel later on in today's video, but he's so good at taking his man on, but a lot of the time he just doesn't really want to seem to do it. But this was a good win for us, and obviously it was towards the latter stages of Steve Bruce's tenure at Blackpool. Compared though to Lincoln City, they currently sit 6th in the League One table. After 13 matches, they've got 7 wins, 3 draws and 3 defeats, scoring 18 goals and also conceding 11, which leaves them on a positive 7 goal difference and 24 points. Their last couple of matches then have been a loss, a win, a loss, a win and a win. So they could, hopefully, will go 3 defeats in their last 4 matches if Bradford City are to be successful tomorrow night. But recently, they had a 1-0 defeat away at Leyton Orient. A very well taken goal from El Mazouni, in all honesty. Both teams had some pretty decent chances in the game, and Leyton Orient are one of those sides where you don't really know what you're going to get from them. We've seen them batter Doncaster 4-0 at home, and then we've also seen them lose away at Rotherham, for example. So Orient can be very inconsistent. Unfortunately for Lincoln, they caught them on a good day, and to say how many goals that Orient have conceded so far this season, for Lincoln to fire a blank is a little bit maybe concerning. They also had a 1-0 win at home at Stevenage. Very big 3 points at this one. It was obviously a very tight game, but Rob Street, former Doncaster loanee, scoring the only goal of the game in this one. I don't think many teams will take many points away from, I want to say, is it Sinsel but I've never actually been at Lincoln's ground, so I'm looking forward to going there in the reverse fixture, but that is a very big 3 points for Lincoln. They also had a 1-0 defeat at home to Exeter. Former Bradford City manager Kevin McDonald scoring the 94th minute winner in that one. Not the best connection, not the best contact, not the best strike in the world, but Lincoln City got Lincoln City'd really. Exeter, I don't think will pick up many points on the road this season. They're always going to sit in that low block and just try and nick a 1-0 win as they did in this one, and Lincoln have done that to many teams in League One over the last couple of years. They also had a 3-0 win at home to Manchester United's under-21s. It looked like largely they made a lot of changes for this game, and again, like what I mentioned with Bradford City's game against Everton's under-21s, you do always expect to beat the under-21 sides pretty comfortably. And they also had a 3-0 win away at Peterborough, who've proved to be pretty much everybody's whipping boys so far this season. Obviously, Bradford City failed to beat Peterborough away from home. Former bantam Adam Reach scored an absolute screamer in that game, and obviously in the end it turned out to be a pretty comfortable win for the Imps. Before we do go any further though with today's video, please make sure to drop a like on there for me and subscribe to the channel as well. If you are new, can we try and hit 140 likes on today's video? And don't forget to get your thoughts in down in the comment section down below. Let me know down below your score prediction for this match and your starting 11 as well. Me personally, I'm backing Bradford City for a 2-1 home win. Moving on then to my team for this game, I would stick with the 3-4-2-1 formation, and I am building and I'm basing my squad off of the same availability as what we had on Saturday. Obviously 8 players out injured on Saturday, 7 of them are definitely starters for Bradford City, so we are kind of down to the bare bones at this moment in time, but I would stick with the 3-4-2-1 formation. In goal, I would go with Sam Walker. I've seen a little bit of criticism for Sam Walker from Saturday for obviously the goal that Stevenage scored, and I know I've been fairly critical of Walker so far this season, but I don't think there's anything that he can do about the goal. It's an outstanding strike from Harvey White. I think if it's any further towards the post, it's going to then bounce back out. It was the perfect strike really to find the back of the net, and he scored a few pretty decent goals so far this campaign. There's a few times from set pieces and stuff where I thought Sam Walker could have been a little bit more dominant, but I don't think people blame him for the goal really. I think you're being very harsh in all honesty. In terms of my back three, obviously we've got 3 or 4 centre halves currently unavailable, but at right centre back I would stick with Neil Byrne. I think against Barnsley he was solid enough. Against Stevenage I also thought he was pretty solid. Obviously scored the goal for Bradford City as well, a very well controlled volley, and I'm not the biggest fan of Neil Byrne. I think when we get some of our better right footed centre halves available like Pennington, like Baldwin, I think they come back into the side, but Byrne's not a bad stopgap to come in and out of the side every now and again. But I think if we're looking to build and go again next season, for example, whatever division we are to be in next campaign, then I do think somebody like a Neil Byrne is a position that we need to improve on. But for now, I think he is a decent stopgap. In terms of the middle centre-back then, I would bring in Tom McIntyre. Obviously, Joe Wright got another start on Saturday and made another mistake, which did lead to a goal, unfortunately. He's made a lot this season of really poor decisions that have cost Bradford City goals. You're looking at 5 or 6 errors now, which of direct errors from him that have led to a goal, or certain things that he should do better with. And it's so strange to see because he had such a good start to the season, but then since that concussion injury away at Blackburn, he just seems to be guaranteed to make a mistake which will lead to a goal. He's not having a good run of form at this moment in time. Tom McIntyre was. I understood why Joe Wright was picked over Tom McIntyre on Saturday for a bit more height, given how physical that Stevenage are, but I would like to see McIntyre come back in for this game. And as my left centre back, I would go with Kieran Kelly. There was the odd moment on Saturday where, you know, a bit of shaky passing or whatever, but I thought on the whole came in to the side and was pretty steady away. Again, with Curtis still not going to be back for another 6 weeks or so, something like that, then I do think it is important that we keep Kelly fit, especially with him being a left-footed centre-half, so I'd like to see him get another start in this game. In terms of my midfield 4 then, at right wing back I would go with Josh Nerfil. As I previously mentioned in this video, Nerfil, especially in the first half on Saturday, got into a lot of very good positions and then just turned down the opportunity to try and take his man on 1v1. I don't think there's many fullbacks that will stop Josh Nerfil, and I don't think it's something that Alexander will be instructing Nerfil to do. When we get into the final third, Alexander wants to see our players take people on, and unfortunately Nerfil just doesn't really seem to be doing that often enough for my liking, because I think pretty much any time he gets 1v1 he can easily beat every fullback in this division, but a lot of the time he just seems to be turning it down, and especially when the man behind you is Neil Byrne, who's not the most comfortable in possession. If it was Aidan Baldwin, for example, I could maybe understand because he's, you know, very good technically, but especially when it's Neil Byrne, I think he just needs to get at his man and get balls into the box, especially if maybe Andy Cook gets a start in this game. In terms of my 2 central midfielders, firstly I would go with the captain, Max Power. I thought on the whole on Saturday had a pretty solid game. There was a moment in the second half quite early on, I think, where he just seemed to bottle a 50-50, and the ball was kind of bouncing and he just didn't really seem to go for it. And obviously you don't really want to see that from anybody, but especially your captain. They're not the sort of standards that we can be setting. And I mean, a captain wearing pink boots, I'm saying nothing else. Partnering Max Power though in the midfield, I would go with Tommy Lee. I thought Jensen Metcalf had a very good game on Saturday, had a very hard job to mark Dan Kempu. For me, he's one of the best players in this division, but I thought on the whole Metcalf had a solid game. You could see though towards the end of the match he was starting to tire, and going from playing a full 90 on Saturday with a big physical outload when you've not played that much football this season to then play again on Tuesday, I think would be a pretty big ask, especially with the energy that is in that Lincoln midfield. Tommy Lee is not a bad option to have either, so I'd like to see him get an opportunity in this one. We know Alexander likes to rotate, especially when we are playing Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, for example. And completing my midfield four then at left wing back, I would bring in Lewis Richards. Obviously, Ibu Toure has played a lot of football so far this season, and on the whole has been pretty consistent. But again, if you're going to play Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, I'd like to see a bit of rotation, and Lewis Richards is a very good option for us to have. Obviously, has struggled with injuries quite a lot throughout his time at Bradford City, but now seems to be back available. And I was a little bit disappointed not to see him come on Saturday. We were forcing the ball a lot to Toure, and I think when he gets 1v1, it's not necessarily the most comfortable area for Ibu Toure to be. I think Lewis Richards can use his physicality, and I'd like to see him get an opportunity in this one. He played against Everton's under-21s, and I thought on the whole had a pretty solid performance, so I'd like to see him get a start in this one, but I think it's likely that Toure will start and maybe Richards will play on Saturday against Cheltenham. In terms of my front three then, at right attacking midfield, I would bring in George Lapsley. Obviously, we had Callum Kavanagh playing on the right-hand side on Saturday, and I think he's effective. You never really know what you're going to get from Callum Kavanagh. He's always going to work hard, that's a guarantee, but in terms of technical ability, one moment he could do something outstanding, and then the next moment he could do something pretty poor. But again, that's obviously going to happen with young players, and I think Lapsley is just always good for a goal. These sort of games, Tuesday night, under the lights, Lapsley will just pop up with a goal, and there's not many goals in this team at the moment when you think our two top scorers in Poynton and Sarsvig are both unavailable at the moment. Obviously, Will Swan hasn't scored for quite a while as well, so Lapsley always seems to be pretty good for a goal every now and again. Didn't score in his last match, obviously, against Stevenage, so might end up popping up with a goal in this one. And as my left attacking midfielder, I would go with Callum Kavanagh. Again, obviously played on the right hand side on Saturday. Now I'd move him over to the left hand side. I feel like Tariq Wright for me just didn't do enough on Saturday, wasn't really involved all too much. Again, similar to Josh Nerfville, on a number of occasions turned down the opportunity to get 1v1 with the pace he's got and the crossing ability. Just shift out your feet and whip a ball into the box, which just didn't happen enough for me. And I think, again, when there's not many goals in this side, Callum Kavanagh yet to get off the mark in the league. Obviously has only played a couple of games, but we know can always come up with a goal, and again scored a couple in our we had a fair few 1-0 victories last campaign, so maybe Callum Kavanagh can come up with another goal for this one. And as my striker, I would go with Andy Cook. I've been calling for it for a number of weeks now, but surely this is the game that Andy Cook gets to start, with Callum Kavanagh having to play as an attacking midfielder because of the injury. Stephen Humphries obviously missed Saturday with a knock, and I would expect to also be out for this game. Will Swan played, I think, the full match on Saturday, and Alexander likes to rotate, so surely this is the game where we get to see Andy Cook start. He's been back for nearly 2 months now, since that game against Grimsby where he made his first appearance. Surely he's ready to get 60-70 minutes, because again, he came on off the bench against Stevenage and had a big impact. We saw they had to bring off an attacker for another centre-half because Andy Cook causes problems, and I feel like, again, they've got quite physical centre-halves with the likes of Sonny Bradley. Somebody like an Andy Cook is perfect for this game, especially when you've got Nerfville and Richards as your wing-backs. They can certainly cross balls in. George Lapsley was hanging up a fair few on Saturday as well to the back post, which is perfect for Andy Cook. So I'm really hoping Cookie gets his start in this one, because I would back him for at least a brace, to be honest. On the bench then for me, that would leave Joe Hilton, Brad Halliday, Joe Wright, Ibu Toure, Jensen Metcalf, Tariq Wright, and also Will Swan. That is practically every other player that is available for Bradford City at this moment in time. The players currently unavailable are Aidan Baldwin, Matt Pennington, Curtis Till, Alex Patterson, Anthony Sarsvik, Bobby Poynton, Nick Powell, and Stephen Humphries. Obviously, Patterson might be back available for this one, and maybe you put him on the bench instead of one of the defenders. You might see Sars and Humphries return as well, because they were apparently only knocks. Bobby Poynton as well, we don't really have a timescale for him, so there could be some surprise inclusions, which would obviously be very nice, but that means the only player who I think will be will miss out through selection will be Zach Hady, the third choice goalkeeper. We are really down to the bare bones at this moment in time, when you've got George Goodman and Harry Ibbotson out on loan as well. I think Goodman is at Guiseley and Ibbotson is at Chorley at the moment. So hopefully they're doing quite well. I know Ibbotson scored a couple of goals for Chorley, but again, you can't exactly just be like, well, we'll bring them back for this game, because I don't think Chorley will be training tomorrow. But anyway, I'm going to leave it there then for today's video. If you have enjoyed, please make sure to drop a like on there for me and subscribe to the channel as well if you are new. Can we try and hit 140 likes as I mentioned at the start of today's video? And don't forget to get your thoughts in down in the comment section down below. What is your score prediction for this match, and what would your starting 11 be as well? Like I said at the start of today's video, I'm back in Bradford City for a 2-1 home win. It's been quite a while since our last league win against Blackpool. In fact, it's been over a month by the time that this game does come around. Obviously, it is a rearranged fixture. I think there's only one other League One match being played tomorrow, so hopefully we can get the 3 points. Thank you all for watching. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you very soon for another one.